What is going on YouTube? We're back with another video. In this video, I want to talk to you about one of the biggest realizations I had in 2025. So stay all the way to the end because I'm going to break it down. It's going to be extremely valuable. I hope at least. And yeah, let's get right into the video. So if you want to have something in life, be it a physique, a business, financial success, you need to find a mentor that's done just that and pay them hard cash. Straight up as that. Now, I had this big thought process for a while where, I'm just going to find one mentor and invest, and then I'm going to learn everything I need. And that held me back for a long, long time with my own business. I found one mentor, I invested into him, right? Then I found a different mentor, I invested in her, right? And then I felt like I had everything I needed, and I was still frustrated. Why is my business not growing to the revenue ceiling that I want it to be at? Why am I not breaking past these financial goals? Why am I not able to impact more people? Why am I not able to grow my audience? Why is this a struggle? And then I started to realize the mentors that I was investing into had 5 or 10 different mentors. Maybe not all at the same time, but over the span of a year, 2 years, they had multiple different mentors. I realized the guys that were doing the numbers I wanted to be doing, guys that were making the impact and being able to help the amount of people that I wanted to be helping, they were spending tens of thousands of dollars into personal development, not just one time, but over and over and over and over again. So if you want to get into great shape, start with first one mentor, but eventually you're going to need to learn other things, right? Because it's multifaceted, right? Fitness is number one, something that you need the mindset for, and you also need the strategy for. And I think this is a little bit different when it comes to personal development, because with personal development, there are so many different skill sets. Like a prime example, I used to think, okay, I need to find a mentor for marketing and then a mentor for maybe like content. Now I realize marketing is not just one thing. You have to learn copywriting, learn calls to action. You have to learn promotion, all these different things. And there are so many minuscule details within each one that are going to give you skill sets. So you can't expect one marketing coach to solve all of your marketing problems, right? Like you're going to have to learn email. That's going to be different than, somebody that does marketing on Instagram, for example. So you need to invest your money and your time and your energy into multiple different mentors. And I think the biggest thing that holds people back with starting business, with endeavoring into entrepreneurship, is just thinking like, okay, I know so many people like this. First ever mentorship I joined, there were other people that were like, yeah, this is the first coaching program I invested into. It better work, bro. And a lot of those guys nowadays, like as unfortunate as it is, they were passionate about what they did. They just looked at it as a scam. It's like, bro, I paid, $6 or $8 grand or whatever it was, and I didn't make the money I wanted to be making. But it's like, okay, number one, that one mentor is not going to solve your problems. He's going to give you information, but you need to be constantly leveling up, constantly developing yourself. And it's just like, bro, over here, I have this huge bookshelf, right? I have all these books. This year, I'm probably definitely going to finish 30 books by the time 2025 ends. I have like 5 books more before 2026 starts. So I literally am trying to get through 1 book a day, which is a stretch for sure. But the reason that I'm reading so much is I realized that okay, 1 book is not going to solve my problems. 1 mentor, 1 YouTube video, 1 podcast, 1 article is not going to give me the answers I need. It's going to give me a sliver of the pie. But the biggest thing I'm realizing is the more that you get into this entrepreneurship game, the more that you get into this business game, the more you get into this fitness game, you realize how diverse it really is and how much you don't know. Because the more that you learn, I forget who says this, but there's a famous quote that says something along the lines of the more that you understand, you don't know anything, right? And one of my good friends actually used to say that a lot. He was like, he would always have this humble approach, and he still does to this day, where it's like, I know nothing, which is good to have that mindset of I can always learn. I personally never liked that, because it's like, well, you're kind of basically telling yourself that you're dumb, right? Like, I don't know anything. It's like, no, you have a lot of skill sets, but there are so many skill sets that you actually need to master to be successful. And I was just having a conversation about 10 minutes ago with, a fitness company, a buddy of mine that we actually met in person. We joined the same mentorship program, and he did $100,000, with his coaching business last March, I think it was. And it was this big thing. And they did 100K, just over 100K in 28 days, the shortest month of the year. Maybe it was February, whatever it was, right? And when I sat down with him, he was basically starting from zero when he started that company. And there were like 15, 20K a month, which is, for me, I was like, wow, bro, like I just hit my first 10K a month. That number seems like insane. And he was just so monotone about it. So yeah, bro, it's just 20K. I'm like, wow. And then next thing you know, I chat with him. He's doing 100K. Now I talk to him again. He's like, yeah, we're not quite at the 100K mark anymore, but we're doing 50, 60K consistently. And it's like, when I was asking him, like, oh, what's working well for you? He was like, oh, we invested in this mentor, we invested in this mentor, and also we're partnering with these, people. And it's like, wow. I used to have the mindset and the approach of like, okay, when I hit a 50K month, like, I'm not going to ever need to invest in mentors anymore. Like, I'll just, save my money. But it's like, it doesn't work that way. You need to be continuously investing into personal development. Just like that bookshelf I just showed you. One book is not going to give you all the information you need. And you're not going to retain everything. And you're not going to learn everything. So you need to constantly find different areas of growth. With fitness, for example, yes, you can join my coaching program. Links in the description if you really want to. Only if you're serious though. And I can teach you about hypertrophy and gaining muscle. But then there's going to become a time and a place where you start to realize that, like, okay, what I'm learning from John, I actually need to learn on a much, much deeper level if I really want to get good results and keep them, right? So it's like, my best clients, they don't just work with me one time. They invest into my program, and then we help them achieve the results, but then they continue to work with me because they realize, like, okay, I've understood how to strategically track my macros, right? I understand how to keep myself in the deficit to burn fat and maintain lean muscle. But now I want to see faster progress, and I need to look at my training. My training is not optimized, right? I'm not doing everything perfectly. I don't quite know how anatomy, biomechanics work. So let me keep working with this dude, whether it be me or somebody else, to understand how to get more bang from your buck from the exercises you're doing. And it's just like me. Like, I was a personal trainer for many, many years, and I had my personal training certification. I felt like, I knew everything. And then I go into this environment, I go into this top-notch gym, essentially, with some of the best trainers, essentially, in the country. It's like big gyms, like Equinox, like Lifetime Fitness. Not everybody, but because there is somewhat of a lower barrier to entry. But a lot of those guys, for example, I'm at my local gym. Everybody's looking at me as the expert with fitness. I go there, and I realize, like, yeah, bro, I have a solid physique compared to most of these guys, but they're, number one, people in way better shape, and number two, they're guys that, like, just, they're biomechanical freaks or they're anatomy freaks, and they just understand the human body at such a deep level that I'm like, okay, bro, I don't know anything. And then, like, you actually start to second guess yourself, and you realize, like, do I really even know what I'm talking about? And of course, yes, I know what I'm talking about. I know how to get people in shape. But when you start to realize, like, there are so many layers to the onion, there are so many different ways that you can educate yourself and get better, that's when you actually start growing. And I remember just being, in the same room with these people, having a lot of conversations and asking questions. And it's like, there were a couple people, for example, this one dude in particular, Jack, this other guy, Chris. And I remember, like, I would ask them a fitness question about, like, how to grow a specific muscle, or, like, how does this exercise correlate to, more growth or more strength here or there or more hypertrophy, etc. And so then these guys give me an answer, and it's like, I don't even know how to dissect that. Like, I don't even know what everything you said just means. So now I'm taking that information and I'm going to do my own research to understand, like, what did he even mean by that statement, right? And they're using verbatim and certain terms that I'm not as familiar with. And that's when you realize, like, you need to constantly be educating yourself. And then that leads to, okay, like, one of the most intelligent people at this gym that knows way more above me that I think is, like, super knowledgeable. He even, same thing, thinks, like, I don't really know that much. He's going out of his way to invest into courses and books and mentors and all these things, right? And then now I'm doing the same. And it's the same thing, like, business, be any goal, like, you constantly need to be self-educating if you really want to grow and succeed. Because if you are not constantly leveling up, what is going to happen is you're going to take backward steps, you're going to see regression occur, and you're not going to see the results continuously. So the biggest lesson I want you to get from this video is you need to find a mentor that has done exactly what it is you want to do. And once you start working with that mentor, maximize and squeeze every ounce of juice from the lemon, right? Like, literally get everything from that person. Ask a bunch of questions, follow through, but then once you're there, one of two things. Either one, hire a different mentor for a different skill set to get even better. Or number two, you essentially just say, hey man, like, I feel like we've covered the groundwork, but I want to make better progress here. Can you help me go deeper? And then you work with that person again. Again, that's exactly why the guys I work with don't just work with me for 1 or 2 or 3 months. They work with me for probably 2.5 years on average. And the reason for that is they realize once they get started that it's not as simple as, hey, just track your macros, here is a training program. Like, no, it's a straight up science, and it's a never-ending door, essentially, where you always need to be leveling up and learning, especially with fitness and again with business, because education's always changing. There's a lot of people that I look up to, guys like Dr. Mike Israetel, all these guys, they're saying things like, here is what the science shows. Guys like Andrew Huberman, for example. And then you realize 6 months later, there's a post that comes out that says, I was wrong, like the science changed and the studies show this now. So then they're contradicting themselves, but it's not intentional. It's because they're realizing, like, I know I was just simply wrong. I didn't know what I didn't know. And so you don't know what you don't know, and you're not going to ever get to the point that you want to be at. And you're never going to get to this position where you're just like, everything and everything's good. And I'm so glad I invested years ago, so now I don't have to do it anymore. Like, no, you need to constantly be doing this. And also, when you're investing time, energy, and especially financial resources, that's when you're going to have way more skin in the game. You're going to be taking things way more seriously, and you're going to, therefore, be way more accountable and follow through way more than you otherwise would. I had a conversation with somebody a while back, and I had essentially told him, like, yeah, man, I don't actually have a mentor that I'm actively working with right now. And he asked me, he's like, bro, like, why not? And I was like, well, I invested into this mentor and that mentor, and I joined a couple of coaching programs, took a couple of courses, read a bunch of books. And he's like, bro, like, are you comfortable with where you're at with your finances, with your business, with your fitness? I'm like, no. He's like, well, you need to be constantly leveling up, constantly investing. And if you don't have the resources at the current moment, then invest your time, invest your energy, do the research yourself. But you can fast track things when you invest into somebody that's done exactly what it is you want to do. And they're going to hold you to a way higher standard. For example, my business coach, I've had a couple different, right? One business coach I invested into, she with her business does like 20K a month, right? So when I was approaching those numbers, for me, it was like, okay, I'm pretty much at the ceiling. There's not really much else I can learn from her. Yes, I can definitely learn more, but like I'm almost capped out and making roughly the same amount of money she's making. Now, on the other hand, when I invested into a mentor that was doing 200K per month, I was like, bro, I'm not thinking big enough. Like, I'm literally not even doing, 10% of what he's doing. And when you start thinking this way of there's just always a bigger fish, and essentially, excuse my language, but it's like there's always a badder bitch, there's always a bigger home. No, the grass is not always greener, but there's levels to this game of entrepreneurship, of business, of fitness, of self-development, of personal development. And the more that you're stuck in this mindset of, I have everything I need, the longer you're going to stagnate yourself and be in the exact same position. And a lot of you guys watching this video are probably like, oh, you're already in good shape. Why would you want to keep getting in better shape? Or, oh, you already have a pretty successful business. Like, why try to push it further? It's not because of the external thing. It's because of the feeling and the sense of fulfillment that comes with stretching yourself to uncomfortable levels. Why is LeBron James still playing in the NBA? He's clearly proved he's one of the greatest. Because he knows he has more in the tank. He knows that he can get better. And what do you see? Every single year, this guy's damn near 40 years old. He's still, slowly but surely his stats are improving. And I'm not a LeBron guy, by the way. I'm an MJ guy. But you just got to show respect where respect is due. It's like, okay, his free throw percentage when he started in his career, is, I don't know, roughly maybe 50, 60%. It was not good. I know for a fact that. But it's like nowadays, he's damn near 80, 90% at the free throw line. He was not a very good three-point shooter when he started in the league. Like, he was not a go-to three-point shooter. And now he's like up there with these three-point guys, right? So when you just look at that, it's like, well, why is he continuing to improve? It's a feeling of always getting better. And when you get to this place where like you finally achieve your goals, most people from the outside in, because I've been there, you look at it as like, oh, when I'm there, I'm going to be happy. And you realize as soon as you get there, you're not. So the fulfillment and the happiness doesn't come from the results. It comes from knowing that you're pushing yourself. You're a little bit better than yesterday, a little bit better than last week, last year, etc. So invest into yourself. Find a mentor that's doing exactly what it is you want to do. And you will start to realize that this game is never ending. And the only people that stay in the game long enough are the ones that continue to get better. Just like Alex Hormozi, the dude's worth $350+ million with his companies. He's damn near like approaching a billionaire to be a billionaire. But he's still investing. He's still spending, he spent 50K or whatever it was, 100 grand on like an hour phone call with, I think it was Grant Cardone. Why is he doing that? Because he wants to get better, right? So there's levels to this game with entrepreneurship, with business, with fitness, with personal development, with anything. And you never get to a point where you're happy with where you're at. Yes, you feel gratitude, but you never are at this point where you're like, okay, I finally achieved my goal. Like now I can kind of just relax. Because every time you do that, you fall in this period of like depression, right? Like you start feeling down, depressed, of like, why am I not happy with where I'm at? Even though I've achieved what used to be a big goal for me, it's because it's not the monetary things or the external validation or the external results or goals. It's the fact of you're stretching yourself, you're pushing yourself. A prime example of this, I remember before I got into the online space, when I was an in-person trainer, my goal was to do, I think it was like 50 training sessions. Well, first it was 40 training sessions bi-weekly, right? Which is 20 sessions per week, which doesn't seem like much. Essentially, you have like about 20 clients, give or take, at that point, right? And that allowed me to make like, whatever it was, $3,000 a month. And that was like a big goal for me. And then every time that I would get close to hitting my next goal, I would just move the target up a little bit higher. So now I'm hitting 50, now 60, now 70, now 75, now 80. Now I'm going from last in the leaderboard. Literally, there were 28 sales reps. Personal trainers are sales reps as much as people don't realize. I'm literally 27 out of 28. And within the span of like 60 days, I move up to literally number 2. And then the number 1 guy that's been there for years, he's away on, like family leave for a couple months. And then I moved to number 1. And as soon as I got to number 1, guess what happened? I didn't have anything else I felt like I didn't have anything else to chase. And so I stopped setting bigger goals. And then slowly but surely that, I'm doing 80 sessions. I'm making damn near $8,000 a month. I'm like, bam, like I'm freaking damn near maxed out. Now I'm going online. I'm fully going to just, dive into this entrepreneurship thing. But when I was at that point, I realized because I wasn't setting goals, I was starting to lose momentum. Now I'm doing 60 sessions, now 55, now 50. Before you know it, I was damn near almost part-time at the job again. The managers I'm, working under are like, dude, what's going on? And it was simply from the fact that I wasn't continuing to pursue 1% better every single day, every single week. I told myself, like, when I get there, I'm good. And so it doesn't work that way. You always need to be leveling up and getting 1% better if you want to feel fulfillment and feel like you're growing. Because that's what life's about. Number 1, yes, life is about, faith, right? In my opinion, God is the biggest thing. You need to find peace, find God, and help people. But when it comes to your own self, right, in attacking your goals, you need to constantly be working towards newer and bigger goals, or eventually you're going to fall in this place of resentment, depression, and just like feeling like you're stagnating. And that's the most miserable place, because you realize that growth is limited and you're not growing. The more that you're growing, the more that you're thriving and feeling your best. And then the more inspiring you'll be to other people. So I hope this resonates and helps somebody out there. Stay tuned for, videos just like this. And again, if you guys want to join my coaching program, or you just have some questions about how to get in great shape, click the link down below, book in a free call, and I'll see if I can help. I'm only taking on about 4 more clients for 2026. So book below, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.